questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
It's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy.
The other portion is a lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine.
Back to the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision. A portion of them will become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our street.
I'm ashamed that I voted for the 94 crime bill. You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill.
Do you still think that Joe Biden is a racist, from your opinion? Do you still think
he's a racist dog? And he said, I saw him, I heard him. And no, you won't find it because nobody had a damn cell phone then. They hadn't been invented. Okay? But he elaborated on it over and over, and there are articles, many articles out there over the years where he says the same thing. He said Negro children are roaches. And if you let them into a school by allowing them to integrate the schools, you'll never get them out. He said Negroes are animals, and they turn the streets into zoos. And if you put me in the Senate, Senator Eastland and Senator John B. Stennis, we will work to pass laws to quickly put these animals in a zoo.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
Your own rule. Geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf. And by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
One of the biggest tasks that you will have when you enter office is distributing a vaccine. Your team has started to meet with the Trump administration to learn of their plans as you are set to inherit this task. Are you satisfied with the current plans that are underway for distributing that vaccine? Do you feel that the federal government is doing enough at this point? And what steps do you think need to be taken between now and when those first vaccines go out?
Well, there's a lot more that has to be done. You're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. They're going to put you all back in chains.